If your blood runs orange and blue, this is the pod for you. You're listening to Orange and Blue Bloods, hosted by EJ Stewart. Let's get to it, New York.
Just when I think I'm out, they pull me back in. What's up? You heard that correctly. It is your boy EJ. It's Orange and Blue Bloods, and that's right, we are back. And I'm so excited to do this show, Orange and Blue Bloods, an Odyssey original podcast, hosted by myself, EJ Stewart, formerly also co-hosted with Tommy Beer. Tommy's not going to be a full-time co-host, so I'm sure we'll have Tommy on for various different episodes. So that will be exciting. But for now, this is a solo journey. I say for now. But so excited to be back. I know there are probably people who have downloaded the stream and were already following the stream and have seen a new episode of Orange and Blue Bloods pop up and be like, what the hell, is this real? That is right. Orange and Blue Bloods is back. The show is officially back. Again, I'll be hosting the show. We'll get into a little bit later in regards to like the nitty gritty in terms of how the show came back and why the show was back. I want to make sure I get to the Knicks content as soon as I can and talk about this team, because that's at the end of the day why you subscribe to this channel in the first place. So we'll get to that stuff very quickly. Towards the end of the show, I'll give the whole breakdown about how this show came about and how we're back doing Orange and Blue Bloods. But definitely want to give a major shout out to our listeners, our supporters, people who followed us way back in 2022 and 2023 when we started this show. And I'm really excited to be able to relaunch the show and give you guys some more Knicks content. So this is going to be a show. We'll record probably about 2 times a week. Typically, a Monday show will probably be recorded, and then a Wednesday show will probably be recorded. So you should probably expect to see an episode drop sometime Monday afternoon, evening / Tuesday morning, and then on the flip side, Wednesday afternoon, evening / Thursday morning. Those will be kind of your record schedules for now. Again, I'm available. I'm free. There will be times where I may jump on when it's important to do a next episode, maybe for breaking news or maybe something big that happens, or maybe I'm just feeling it. I say, hey, listen, I want to get on the mic and I want to record. So just make sure, whatever you do, make sure you subscribe to the podcast channel. Orange and Blue Bloods is what you'll search for wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you hit download. Make sure you hit subscribe. And make sure you give us a 5-star review if you can. And for those who are looking for the videos of these episodes, because we're going to post the videos of this as well. That for now will live on the New Generation Media page. So if you follow me, EJ_Stewart on X, you follow me, Action EJ on Instagram, you know about the work I've done with New Generation Media. That is my independent channel. That's the work I do with me and my brothers, where I've done 40 days and 40 nights. Now we have 40 days and counting. Of course, we have Hero Talk. We've had Sports Talk. We have All Script, our wrestling podcast. So that content lives on the New Generation Media YouTube page. That is also, for now, where Orange and Blue Bloods will live. I'll decide whether or not I want to make an Orange and Blue Bloods YouTube page. I'm kind of on the fence about whether I want to do that. But for now, these videos and for these episodes, in terms of wanting to watch the full videos, just subscribe to our channel. New Generation Media is where you'll find that content. I am so excited to be back. Excited to get it going. This is Orange and Blue Bloods, hosted by your boy, EJ Stewart. And I wish I was coming in on some happier times and some more positive outlooks in terms of how the people feel about the team right now. That's not exactly where we are, though I didn't think the Knicks embarrassed themselves at all in their loss to the Thunder. They did lose on Sunday to the Thunder, 111-100 in a game that was really competitive. I don't think the final score is quite indicative of how close this game was. This was a game that was essentially a 2-point game with about 5 minutes left. And the Thunder did what they do, right? They are an extremely good team when it comes to closing games. They're excellent defensively, so they were able to turn the Knicks' water off when they had to. And the Knicks' offense throughout the entire game just never quite got into gear, never quite looked comfortable. And we have seen different stretches in the Knicks season where their offense, while they've been a high-powered offensive team for much of the year, we've seen stretches where it feels like they can't consistently get easy shots, good looks. And this is, without question, one of the best defensive teams in the NBA. And I thought they had trouble in this one. Jalen Brunson had 32 points. I know he missed some shots late, but for the most part, I thought he was phenomenal in this one. For a large part, he kept them in this game. I thought this was probably one of the best Josh Hart games I remember in a while. I thought he was super active on the glass. He made so many threes. I think he had 5 threes in this one. So I thought he had a really good game. I thought Bridges played well. But one of the issues this team continues to have, and it's continues to be a concern, and something that's quite unclear to me how this is still an issue, is its inability to figure out Karl Anthony Towns' consistent fit within the offense. Which, to even say those words, is becoming a little frustrating and annoying because his fit should be he's the second best player on the team. So therefore, he gets the second most amount of shots. It should be really simple. And I am someone who I supported the Mike Brown hire. I'm someone who has supported a lot of the offensive adjustments he has made with this team. I think the ball movement is better. I think the team is a lot less predictable. I think there are a lot of aspects of this Knicks offense that has improved, which is why the Knicks have had an improved offense this year compared to last year. But the Karl Anthony Towns bit of this and his lack of a fit with the team continues to be a bugaboo. So last night, the numbers in terms of the efficiency was really good. He was 5 for 9, so he shot really high percentage. He made all the free throws. He had 4 turnovers. A lot of guys had turnovers in this one. Turnovers were a big factor in this loss. They had 18 turnovers as a whole. I think they had, I believe, 16 through 3 quarters. So they were turning the ball over left and right. And that was a big reason why they were unable to win this game. But you see Karl Anthony Towns, when he's playing that efficiently, first half only takes 2 shots. And he finishes with 9 shots. And he had 9 points in the fourth quarter, where it seemed like he was the guy that kind of brought them back into the game. It looked like early in the fourth quarter the Thunder were going to run away from it, and Karl Anthony Towns came alive. It doesn't make sense why this team can't consistently get him involved. I think everyone is to blame. I'm not going to sit here and say this is all Mike Brown's fault. I think he has some blame for this for sure. And we'll play you some sound from Karl Anthony Towns talking about his concern or his lack of still understanding about what his role is on this team. But I think Mike Brown certainly deserves some blame. I think the point guard, Jalen Brunson, certainly deserves some blame because at the end of the day, while he is the Knicks' best offensive player and their best scorer, he's also in charge of running the team. He's also in charge of running the offense. And at a certain point, you need to get your team into certain sets that can get Karl Anthony Towns involved when you start to play long stretches in games and when it feels like he's not getting enough touches. That's on the point guard, and it feels like Jalen Brunson too often loses sight of games where Karl Anthony Towns can go, again, a whole half of basketball where he has only 2 shots. It's utterly ridiculous. I think overall, the rest of the whole team, I think, deserves all these guys. They deserve blame for not figuring this thing out. And then, finally, Karl Anthony Towns. There are too many stretches in this game that I just watched against the Thunder. And I watched this on Monday because I was working on Sunday night, so I didn't get to really... I had the game on, but I wasn't really watching closely. Watched it much closer, so I did a Tom Thibodeau, watched the game twice to know what was going on deal. So I watched the game a lot closer the second go-around. And too often what we've seen as well is when Karl Anthony Towns... Yes, there are times where he's open and he's got a guy in the post and they just don't throw him the ball. And there were plenty of times I was yelling at my TV screen, just throw him the damn ball. But there are also times, too, where Niles Caruso or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or Jalen Williams, one of these other little guys, because they essentially guarded him almost exclusively with little guys, are able to just body him outside the paint and push him off the block. And there are too many times where he's not making it easy for the Knicks offense and Knicks players to actually give him the ball because he's kind of lackadaisically getting position. He is not officiated well. He had a couple awful calls against him in this game. This was another terribly officiated game by the referees. The Thunder whistle is generational. I don't know what to tell you. They get calls. This is Duke in the Shane Battier era. This is Duke in the Christian Laettner era. This is what we have the Oklahoma City Thunder. I'm not going to sit here and harp on it. I've harped on that enough if you listen to my shows on The Fan or listen to me on 48 and 49, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on that. But officiating sucks. They were terrible yesterday. They will continue to be terrible. This is just a reality we face the Thunder. You got to overcome that. And I thought Mike Brown will play some of his sound. I thought he had good comments about how the Knicks allowed the officials to play a role in the game with how the Knicks were undisciplined defensively. So, but the refs were terrible last night. But at the same time, too, with Cat, I don't know if he's afraid because he feels like if he gets too physical in terms of trying to block a guy off and to get his positioning that he's going to get called for offensive foul. He gets called with a ton. He leads the league in offensive fouls. But there's too many times where for a guy who's 7 foot, who should be able to be an easy target to throw the ball to, he's allowing himself to be fronted. He's allowing himself to be three-quartered. He's allowing himself to be denied the ball. And that is where he deserves blame, too. And that's where I hear this commentary, and I'll play the sound here from him, and it makes me wonder again, how invested is he? How how engaged is he? That's the better word. How engaged is he in these games? Like this is a game where I felt like they weren't getting the ball, but it also didn't feel like he was engaged. So that's why I think there's a blame to go around for everybody, because he's talking to Zora Stevenson. I believe that's her name. Apology if I messed that the last name up. I believe her name is Zora Stevenson, but she's a sideline reporter for the NBC games. And before the game, she's asking them, "Hey, like, people have been talking about your fit with what's going on with this Knicks team. How's it going?" And it has been a conversation all year. But to be honest, he's played really well past the All-Star break. He played really great when it seemed like there was. And I'm really hoping everything is all good with Mr. Karl Anthony Towns Sr. I know he was dealing with some health issues. He really, I thought, came out and played some great basketball, and maybe inspired and maybe wanting to put on for his dad. And he played great basketball before that. He's had a really good second half of the season. But here we go again with the same song and dance where it sounds like, a guy is upset that, his dog died or something. Here is Karl Anthony Towns talking about how he still don't know what his role is on the offense.
Season long, you've answered questions surrounding understanding coach's system. You've had to sacrifice a lot. Where are you at with everything right now?
I'm still working through it. I'm still trying to figure out where I can impact our team and winning the most. And, right now I'm just utilizing my experience so I can do the best I can.
Yeah, I mean, I hate that answer. I hate the answer for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's literally about to be April. Like, we're no longer in the, well, wake me up when it's April, wake me up when it's the playoff push. Like, it's here. Like, it's happening now. Like, I'm recording this episode on March 30th. April begins this week. So, playoff time is here. And he's working through it. Like, I'm sorry. I hate that answer. Like, you have to have figured out what your role is. If you don't know what your role is at this point in time, then I'm sorry. Knicks don't got a shot. Knicks are cooked when it's time to get to the playoffs. If this is his disposition, that he's still in this passive way of, like, I'm just trying to figure it out. You got to make it happen. You got to carve out your role. It's not a... And now listen, that conversation between Cat and Shaq, I criticized Shaq for that. I thought Shaq, was not listening to Karl Anthony Towns. And I think some of it was, like, just the nature of a delay that comes when you do these TV interviews. But, like, I kind of understood the spirit of what Shaq was saying, though, which is that, like, don't worry about, like, other people. Like, you're the star player of this team. Like, you got to impose your will on this team. And when I hear I'm trying to figure it out, that doesn't sound like someone imposing his will on what his team needs to do to win. He doesn't seem like he knows. And to not know at this late in the game, at this point, the Knicks are gonna go into the playoffs just not knowing. Like, this is just gonna be a question mark, and the Knicks are just gonna have to see if they can. They're a good team. They've won almost 50 games with this being the disposition, but they're gonna have to live with this, and this is the reality. But I'm telling you right now, for a team that has championship aspirations, if there really is no answer to him not understanding his role, then the Knicks can't win a championship. That's the reality. His role should be very simple, like I said earlier. He's the second best player on the team, so he should be taking between 15 and 20 shots a game. Simple. There should never be a basketball game where Jose Alvarado takes more shots than him. None. Ever. Unless Karl Anthony Towns is out in the first quarter because he got sick or he's got an injury or whatever, which I'm not going to would. I hope that never happens. But, like, that's the only scenario where in any basketball game in the NBA, Jose Alvarado should be taking more shots. Like, it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable for him to go a whole half of basketball where he takes 2 shots against the defending NBA champions who are pit bulls defensively, who you're going to need all your bullets in the chamber to take these guys out. And you get nothing from Karl Anthony Towns offensively for a whole half? We wait till the fourth quarter, and most of the plays he has to get offensive rebounds in order to get himself involved. I mean, he's not Mitchell Robinson. And that's not distant Mr. Robinson, but it's just not, he needs to get his offense on garbage points and junk points. That's not Karl Anthony Towns' game. Karl Anthony Towns is a high-end offensive player. And the Knicks just have to find a way to utilize him more. And I don't know why, to me, I watch teams just spam their best actions against the Knicks. I don't know why, for the Knicks, who have had so much success in actions with Brunson and Cat as the primary guys, 2-man game, why they don't spam that a lot more. It boggles my mind. It really does. And maybe when we get to the playoffs, when you start to try to hone in on things that work and hone in on what you do best, maybe things will change. But now we're at the point of the season where there's no longer anything really to extrapolate from the regular season at this point, because this has just been a mixed bag. It's been a mixed bag when it comes to Karl Anthony Towns' fit. There have been some good things about this offense, some not so good things about this offense. This is just what they are. Now we're going to have to see, how does this relate to the playoffs? How does this match up against Boston? How does this match up against whoever they play in the first round, whether it's Philly, whether it's Orlando, whether it's Toronto, whether it's any one of those teams, right? Atlanta, obviously, who's been surging. We're just going to have to see, and we're going to see what happens. The Knicks may be good enough to win anyway, but this is becoming concerning, and it's starting to become a little ridiculous. So I was highly frustrated and highly disappointed, in that answer, that Karl Anthony Towns still seems to have no clue what his role is on the offense, and B, that for in a game where I think it was going to be important for him to impose his will, that he seemed uninterested in the first half. And then also the team that seemed uninterested in understanding the moment, understanding what was happening in the game, that, oh, shoot, our second best player in a game where, through the first quarter and a half, they were shooting like 30% from the field. The Knicks offense was dreadful. They were only in the game purely on competitive spirit, which is why I think you can't really kill them for this one. I thought the competitiveness was there, which I really liked. But they were in the game purely on guts and guile and competitive spirit. It kind of actually reminds you a bit of a Tom Thibodeau kind of game, like a Tom Thibodeau era Knicks game. That's the only reason why they were in it for so much of the game. You have the best post player in the game, in that particular game, in that 5-man, 10-man game. You have the best interior offensive player on the floor, and you don't even try to get him involved. It's a failure. It's a failure on everybody's part. The Knicks could have won that game, and it took them too long to get Cat involved. I also thought Mike Brown made a mistake. I guess he wanted to give Cat a quick blow. I did not understand taking Cat out right when he's white hot, like he's basically carrying the offense. Take him out, put Mitchell Robinson in. Mitchell Robinson, I think he turned the ball over pretty quickly as soon as he got in. Then he tried to go double big. I didn't think he needed to go double big against the Thunder. I actually think that going double big against them is a trap. I think they want you to go double big because Chet Holmgren is such a perimeter-based player offensively. It doesn't, and you can, and because also he is so slight, you can guard him with a smaller guy, and you're mostly fine. I think if you play double bigs against them, they're not gonna heat like those two guys. Like Dort will hurt you on the rebounds and all that stuff, but I don't think Hartenstein and Holmgren would dominate the Knicks badly on the offensive glass or the defensive glass. So they did give a lot of offensive rebounds in this game. I think that's a trap. I thought that was a trap. I didn't like that substitution, and the game essentially ended on that substitution. Like he took Cat out. Thunder starting to get some momentum, tried to bring Cat in. Now they're going double bigs, a line they hadn't played all game, and then they got smoked. I didn't think this was the greatest coach game by Mike Brown. I didn't understand why Mo Diawara played 2 minutes. And the 2 minutes he played, he actually played okay, I thought. He hit Mitchell Robinson on a roll, and Mitchell Robinson, he dropped the ball. I think he missed the layup or whatever. He was active. Like, to me, in a game like that, where you're facing a team that is so active, so long, so aggressive, I want my longest, most athletic guys on the court. And I don't know why this game required so much more Jordan Clarkson. Deuce McBride coming in the lineup. I know that's why Deuce plays, and that makes sense that he gets the minutes he got. We'll talk about him in a second. I thought that meant Clarkson, as great as you've been, you've shown great leadership, you've shown great sacrifice, and you've rebounded from what's been a pretty bad year with the Knicks. I think that was where, okay, you take a seat. I think he was the guy to sit, not Diawara. So I thought that was also a mistake as well, especially because Diawara can hit some shots. Like, forget about even all that other stuff. I talk about the defense and the energy. And again, this was a game that was predicated on that. I think Diawara also may be able to make a shot. Like, that's a reality with his game, too. We got to start acting like he's a guy that's not an offensive threat at all. He is. So I thought the Knicks missed him in that game for sure. So I didn't think this was Mike Brown's best coached game as well. But the Karl Anthony Towns thing remains a problem. But the big story in this game as well was obviously the officiating. And that's something that Mike Brown talked about a ton. And he said after the game they thought the Knicks let the officials get in their heads way too much.
The thing that I was most disappointed in was the amount of energy that we expended on the officials. They shot 38 free throws. Were all of them legit? I don't know. I know some of them were because we reached. And you can't reach versus this team because the team does a fantastic job starting with SGA and getting the officials to think that a foul has occurred. Their gamesmanship is off the charts. It's off the charts.
I mean, I think he was right. I think that, listen, it is highly frustrating to watch this team, and this team, I mean the Thunder, and the calls that they get. I mean, Lou Dort is torpedoing himself into Josh Hart's legs on a dribble handoff, and they're calling an offensive foul. And by the way, the guy's calling it from left field. The person that's right there, she called nothing, which seemed insane. That had to be something. But then this guy decides offensive foul, which someone could probably explain to me why somehow by the letter of the law that should have been an offensive foul. I just don't think as a basketball player it is in any way serious to be just torpedoing yourself all around the court and trying to draw fouls, which is what Lou Dort does. And so the refereeing was bad. And I thought there were different points where the Knicks kind of got upset at the refs, but then bounced back. It seemed like the last stretch in the fourth quarter where they started to get some more rough calls against them. It kind of was like the straw that broke the camel's back, and they just decided, they just got them out of the game. And but I think Mike Brown made a good point too, that there were plenty of times where the Knicks just weren't disciplined enough. I kind of like that this was a late season game, because I think that if there is a matchup in June in the NBA Finals against this team, I think it won't be so. It'll be a little fresh in the mind of what you have to do to face this team. You got to play these guys hands behind your back, essentially. You cannot reach, you cannot bump, you cannot try to take aggressive angles on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander drives. They will just take the contact and just fall to the ground, and they will call a foul every time. And there were some moments where I thought they were weak. There were a couple for sure that they were weak, but there were plenty that were fouls, or at least fouls where if they're looking to draw them, they're gonna call them, right? Like maybe another player doesn't even try to get those calls, but for what they're trying to do when they're trying to get called, they're gonna call it every time. So I thought Mike Brown was right about that. There were plenty of things that they need to do better. And he said that the high discrepancy of free throws, where you have the Thunder shoot 38 and the Knicks shoot 17, that was another thing that when something like that happens, you need to be much better at the other aspects of the game, and the Knicks were not.
Obviously, if you go on the road and you get, hammered from the free throw line 38-17, that's more than double. I mean, they had one player alone take as many free throws as us. And so if you get hammered doing that, you got to be really good in other areas. And I told the team that we spent so much energy worrying about the officials that we had more turnovers than them. They had more points off our turnovers. They had more fast break points. And they had more second chance points. And so the officials had nothing to do with that.
Yeah, I mean, he's right about that. I mean, the Knicks, again, at times were too sloppy. At times were, attention to detail wasn't there. And, I don't want to crush them because, again, I thought they played a decent game in terms of the competitiveness aspect of it. But you just have to be almost perfect to beat this team. You cannot lose those battles, or at least play them even. You have to outwork them. You have to out-hustle them. And the Knicks were unable to do that on a consistent basis. And they certainly, again, weren't clean enough in terms of taking care of the ball and taking care of the little things to have that kind of free throw discrepancy and find a way to win. Now, to say, okay, you only lost by 11 points when you got out free throwed by almost 20, they doubled you up, and it's a 2-point game in the last 5 minutes of the game, I think you look at that and say, okay, listen, we have something here. We have the talent to compete with this team for sure. And I think that's what the Knicks probably should be saying to themselves a little bit. But again, it did feel like they missed an opportunity potentially to get would have been maybe a season-defining win here. And the last thing on Mike Brown, again, talking about how much energy the Knicks, gave to the referees. He's saying that energy needs to be positioned inward, not towards the refs.
You can't waste your energy on the officials, and I thought we did that too much tonight, and it still didn't change. we yelled at the officials. I got a tech, and they still shot 38 free throws at the end of the day. And so we have to figure out, okay, you know what? We're not going to be able to control the officials, so let's control what we can control. And if they get an offensive rebound, let's yell at each other, box the F out. If we turn the ball over 2 or 3 times in a row, take care of the effing ball. Or I got to box out. I'll do better. Let's do that instead of trying to find some place to place blame.
Yeah, and that's that at the end of the day is what you would hope to see, and that's something that some of the things I think you saw, and if you guys are following social media, some of the Mitchell Robinson comments in the IG, he loves to be cryptic in IG comments and things, but that's some of the stuff they talked about, where it's about self accountability. It's been, I think, a theme for this team all season, and it's something they're gonna have to dig deep in and figure out. So we are in the home stretch here. We're about to end March basketball and then enter April, where you're talking about the end of the regular season, and you're talking about, of course, the playoffs. And Knicks put themselves in a tough position right now in terms of finding a way to get to the 2 spot. I know the Celtics, they're playing as we speak, so I don't want to give a score, or at least as I'm recording, they're playing. So I don't know where things stand as of now. But the Knicks came into Monday, I believe, 3 back in the loss column with the Celtics. So that's not a good sign. Celtics, so they're losing right now, but I'm not going to harp on that because, again, they could win this game by the time you hear this podcast. But it definitely, Knicks in a tough spot. They want to try to see to get that 2 seed, which I think it would have been important. I think getting one of those play-in teams, I think would have been a better spot for them, and then not trying to make it so hard on themselves on trying to win in Boston like they had to last year and getting home court advantage. That would have been important. That opportunity slowly could be slipping away here, and that's going to be something the Knicks are going to have to overcome. So they lose this one. We'll get to their next opponent in a second, but we do got some big news to talk about right before we get to that. So Deuce McBride, he returned in this game, which was a very optimistic sign. Obviously, people have been clamoring for the return of Deuce. He had the sports hernia core muscle surgery that put him out indefinitely. There was questions about when/if he could return before the playoffs. Him being able to return, with basically almost a full 2 weeks for the NBA playoffs was certainly a good sign. And he played in this game. I thought for the minutes he played, he was extremely active. Shots didn't go down. Timing maybe a little off. So, that's just a reality. But we know Deuce can hit shots, so I'm not too concerned about that. But he came in immediately, forced Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to a tough shot. So the defense was there. The activity was there. But in a play early in the second half, he's dying for a loose ball. And that war criminal, Lou Dort, is, diving after the ball. And it wasn't a dirty play, but Lou Dort, it's like, he's just a go hard. It's like, of course he's going to get on the floor on a play where maybe, other guys wouldn't. So because of that, Deuce, both of him go into the floor. He jumped, he kind of falls on Lou Dort kind of awkwardly, and is holding his midsection, groin area, it seemed like, and he left the game. He was doubtful to return. He never returned to the game, but they didn't specify what the injury was. It did not look good. He struggled to get up off the court. He kind of struggled to walk to the bench. It seemed like when he was on the bench, he's worded something like, "I can't even walk right now," which was very scary, very tough to hear. So the official word coming after the game is that he is questionable for their game against the Rockets, which we'll talk about in a second. So with this medical staff, I don't know what to make of it, to be honest. Part of me is like, is it better that it's not a different injury? Because they listed it as questionable sports hernia core pelvic injury core pelvic surgery. That's how they listed them. So they didn't even list it as like an injury. They kind of listed it as they literally put surgery in his injury report. He's obviously not getting another surgery. At least I hope not. He wouldn't be questionable. That's for damn sure. So I think that's a good sign that perhaps they didn't just say he's out and say he's out indefinitely or nothing more egregious. Though, again, with the Knicks PR, you just never know what may happen. Like, they'll say questionable, and then tomorrow we'll learn he's out for the year. I'm knocking on wood that we do not hear that, but I'm just saying that is what we've dealt with this training staff in the past. So we'll have to just see. Again, it could have been worse news, but I am gravely concerned about Deuce McBride. I mean, this is his first game back. It was a tough play, but it wasn't a super dirty or crazy play at all. And the fact that he was, in his first game back, he re-aggravates that hernia. I'm hoping it's just a soreness thing and not something where it's like an actual pull or tear or anything like that, because that would put the Knicks in a really, really tough spot. I think that Deuce McBride is someone that they've been missing greatly. I think we kind of underestimated how much his shot making helps this team. Like, we've seen the Knicks again. We talked about their offense kind of sputtering up and down. I don't know how many times earlier in the year Deuce McBride would just bail them out with late shot clock kind of threes or jump shots or contested jumpers. Like, having that guy on the court, I think especially when Jalen Brunson is not in the game, and he can be an outlet for Karl Anthony Towns and for OG Anunoby on drives. Like, he's crucial to the team. Let alone what he brings defensively, where we know he's a really good point of attack defender and aggressive, and plays well above his size in terms of the different matchups you can put him up against. He's such a great competitor. So this is concerning. I'll be real. Like, we have Landry Shamet, who's already dealing with the injury with the knee bruise, the bone bruise in his knee. So bone bruises also can be up and down. If he, they say he's progressing well, but we'll see when he comes back. Both of those guys, I think, are crucial. Both of those guys are lasers. They're knockdown 3-point shooters. They're both aggressive on point of attack defensive players, and the Knicks don't really have guys that do what they do at the level they do in terms of role players. Alvarado can give you some of that on the ball stuff, but doesn't shoot as well as these guys, and he's shorter than both of them, ironically, even Deuce McBride. So they're gonna need Deuce back. Hopefully this is not something that's super serious. Hopefully, obviously, they can get Landry Shamet back as well. I think both of those guys are gonna have to be key parts of this team. They've been key parts all season. They've both had really good years. And let's hope for Deuce McBride's sake that this is not for the Knicks' sake. This is not something that's going to be some long injury where he's going to be out for an extended amount of time, or they got to shut him down for the playoffs. Early word when you say he's listed questionable for a game that's played on Tuesday, and he walked off the court and it seemed like a lot of pain on Sunday, gives me optimism that, okay, maybe he will be good. But I still will have concern about, is he one bad hit or one awkward jump or one awkward twist left or right away from being out for the year? Like, that's not a reality I had coming into this first game he had, because I was just happy he was back. But now that is something I think you have to keep in mind as we move forward. But let's hope Deuce McBride can get back on the court, because he is indeed, I believe, a very important part of this team. And again, he's questionable for that game against the Rockets, which takes place on Tuesday. So Knicks Rockets, remember they played a game back, I believe, in February. I want to say was the last time these teams played. That was maybe the best Knicks win of the season. You'll remember the Knicks were down big in the fourth quarter, and they rallied all the way to come back. Jalen Brunson, who had struggled the entire game, had a huge fourth quarter. It had to be February because Jose Alvarado was still on the team. Jose Alvarado had a huge impact in this one. This was the February 21st game. Knicks won 106 in this one. That was really a awesome performance from the Knicks in terms of their comeback. This looked like it was going to be one of the more frustrating losses of the season, and turned out to be one of their better wins of the season. So I thought that this is going to be obviously a fun game to follow. The Rockets are going to remember that game. The Rockets have won 2 in a row after losing maybe one of the worst games of the season, and having a double-digit overtime lead against the Timberwolves just last week, and they blew that game. And that's kind of been the narrative for the Rockets for a lot of this season. It has been their inability to close games, their inability to execute late in games. That has been their Achilles heel all season, and it was their Achilles heel against the Knicks when they came to the Garden in February and lost. So very fascinated by this matchup. These typically have been the kind of teams that have given the Knicks problems. I think the Knicks have struggled with teams just like the Thunder. Teams that are uber athletic or uber quick and uber switchable. When the Knicks come into a game with a team that has a considerable athletic advantage, that is where I think they tend to have trouble. They had trouble with the Indiana Pacers, obviously, in the playoffs. They've had trouble, with the Thunder. They've had trouble with the Pistons, and the Rockets kind of fit that bill. Now, again, the Rockets had problems closing the game, which is why the Knicks were able to win. But this will be a good test. I think it's a good test for the team, too. I think that loss, that's the kind of loss to the Thunder that could carry over into the next game, because you put so much into it. It's Sunday night. It's NBC, Sunday Night Basketball. All the bells and whistles are there, and everybody's paying attention. Then you lose, and there's so much conversation coming out of the loss, whether it's the referees, whether it's Karl Anthony Towns, whether it's Mike Brown. It's a lot that went into that game. And the Knicks, hopefully they'll be able to quickly turn the page, because this is a game where you have to have your full focus. The Rockets, while they've had their ups and downs, are still a very talented, very tough team. and this should be a good game, but it's going to be a tough one. And again, the Rockets will remember what happened in February when the Knicks stole one at the Garden. So it's always fun when the Knicks get a matchup against Kevin Durant. Haven't got to play this soundbite in a while, but I can play it now.
I mean, listen, KD, don't you regret not coming to the Knicks? Don't you regret not coming to the Knicks?
Yeah, so I have no idea if he regrets not coming to the Knicks anymore. I don't know, but nonetheless, that those matchups always are fun because of KD's past with the Knicks in terms of comments and obviously the hoopla about the expectation he was going to be a Knick, and then he obviously ended up being a Brooklyn Net. So we'll see what happens in this one, man. But this is an important game. The Knicks are in the midst of a 2-game lose streak. You know, they won 7 in a row. A lot of those games were against bad teams. Like, the Knicks had a pretty tough schedule up until that point. So they kind of were due to have a stretch of kind of easy games. To their credit, they beat up on all those bad teams. But then the first time they get to see 2 teams above 500, they lose. They lost to the Hornets in pretty embarrassing fashion, in my opinion. And they obviously not embarrassed by the Thunder, but they lose a game to the Thunder. And the last bit of stretch of the season is not a cakewalk for the Knicks. You got the Rockets on the road. Memphis, obviously, that should be a W on Wednesday. But then you got Bulls at home. Then the last 4 games here. At Atlanta, again, not a cakewalk given how the Hawks are playing now. Boston at home, that's going to be a huge, huge game potentially if you're talking about the Knicks are still in the race for the number 2 seed. Then you got Toronto at home, and then you got Charlotte. And all these teams towards that last end of that stretch, those 4 teams are all going to be playing for seeding in some degree. So these are going to be live, real games. So we're going to learn a lot about the Knicks, I think, in this stretch. But again, if they don't figure out these issues in terms of being able to consistently get Karl Anthony Towns involved offensively, then, like I said, it won't be much to extrapolate. You'll just have to take the team for who they are and just hope that that's good enough for the playoffs. But this is a good test for them. This is a good stretch to say, hey, all right, we got 7 games here. Like, can we figure this thing out in these 7 games and forget about what happened the previous, 60-something or 70-something, whatever. Let's get these last 7 and let's get this and use this as a launching pad going into the postseason. That is what you would hope if you're the Knicks, and we'll see if they get that done. Man, I'm just so happy to be back. I'm so happy we're doing Orange and Blue Bloods again. Again, this is Orange and Blue Bloods, EJ Stewart, and I really want to thank everybody who's been involved with the return of this show. So obviously, I want to give a major shout out to the team over at Odyssey. So I'll give you just a quick story, not to belabor and harbor on this. So this is it's an Odyssey original. So the logo says that, and I think it doesn't. I don't mind taking it off, but I mean, I don't think there's any point to take it off because it is an Odyssey original podcast. It began there, but it is no longer an Odyssey podcast. This is a podcast that is now owned by me. So this was a conversation I had. I talked about it a little bit briefly on New Generation Media's 40 Days and Counting, where I was offered the opportunity to take back the stream. How the offer came about was a little interesting in terms of why they were offering it to me in that sense. But nonetheless, I'm really thankful to the team to be very gracious to say, hey, listen, if you want to restart the Knicks podcast, you want to do your thing with this, we're more than happy to hand over the stream to you and let you do with it as you will. And that's what we're doing with this. So obviously a big shout out to the folks over at Odyssey, and a big shout out again to our listeners and our subscribers who, if you've not unsubscribed at this point in time, you've stuck with Orange and Blue Bloods, maybe because you forgot about us and you're just like, oh, snap. And then you see, wait, new podcast episode, Orange and Blue Bloods? That's right, we're back. Again, for you guys that have rocked with me or the new fans, new followers who weren't there for the first time with Orange and Blue Bloods, but now like, oh, snap, Orange and Blue Bloods is back. Let me give it a follow. I'm really excited to have you guys with me on this upcoming journey. So, again, we'll be recording these episodes about twice a week. Right now, I'm sitting at like the 39, 40-minute mark. I think that was kind of where we lived for most of the time when I did the show with Tommy. That's probably where this will live as well. If we can kind of do, I kind of usually section it off with 3 topics, 15 minutes a topic, give or take. It's kind of where I'll probably live with this one as well. Right now, it's a solo-hosted podcast. I'm not married to that. There could be a co-host at some point, and maybe that would be a lot of fun. And I'm not at all, and I'm not necessarily, if you're interested, you can hit me up. I'm not like soliciting, hey, come on and let me know if you want to be my co-host. But no, I mean, this is one of those things where, trying to figure out the formatting of the show and whether it worked. And, I've kind of taken up a busy schedule with everything we're doing with New Generation Media. Again, that for those who don't know about that, that is my individual, not my individual, but my personal, creative YouTube podcast channel with my brothers Shamari Stewart and Kendra Stewart, where we do multiple shows. I have a sports and pop culture show, 40 Days and Counting. We have Hero Talk on there. We have Sports Talk on there. We have the Imperial Broadcast, which is a Star Wars podcast that my brothers do. So we've revved that up in a major way in 2026, and I'm really proud of how active New Generation Media has been. So because of that, when it came to launching this show, I was like, listen, we got to get it out because the regular season is about to end, so we got to begin this. So I figured, let me just start it, and maybe it will stay a solo podcast. That's very possible. It may just stay a solo podcast, and I just do my thing, and that's it. But in theory, it could eventually, a co-host could be recruited, and we have a co-host to the show, and that could be really awesome. So, and you will see guests on this show. I've already talked to some friends who have already agreed to come on. I already talked to my guy Tommy Beer. Major shout out to Tommy Beer, obviously. Matter of fact, let me give my guy Tommy a round of applause. Always gotta give my guy Tommy a round of applause. When I got the show, obviously the first thing I did was like, hey, listen, this is what's happening. They're giving it back to me. I know, you had to split last time, and you wanted to, launch a lot of your personal stuff. And me and Tommy are very good terms, so there's no beef or anything at all. So I said, hey, listen, this is what they gave me. If you want to get it going and restart the band again, more than willing to let's go and do it. I'm really excited, but there's no pressure, and if that's not where you're at right now, because this is new, I didn't think this was gonna happen, so I know this is coming out of nowhere. So if that's not the case, then that's totally fine, and I'll just do it as is. And he said, listen, I will support in any way. I'll come on as a guest, and also we'll have Tommy on. But just being a full-time co-host, that wasn't something he could commit to at this point. So that's why Tommy's not in this iteration of Orange and Blue Bloods, and that's fine. Again, Tommy's my guy, and we'll have him on. He was on 40 Days and 40 Nights that I did on New Generation Media. So he will be a guest on Orange and Blue Bloods, probably a frequent one because he's brilliant. Why wouldn't I want to talk to my guy, Tommy Beer? But yeah, this is it became a very fortunate situation. So again, this is a new journey. Stream is still the same, everything's still the same, but the only major difference is right now solo hosted by me, EJ Stewart, part-time host on WFAN, obviously creator, founder, host on New Generation Media. And obviously, also this will, of course, continue on as an individually and our own podcast. This is not going to be an Odyssey owned podcast. This is not a WFAN podcast anymore. Now I'm on WFAN, so I'll probably plug the show a ton next time I'm on the air. Hopefully, I get a shift soon on the fan. But this is not a WFAN show or an Odyssey show anymore. All creative control, all things of that nature are all with yours truly. So that's the only differences with it. But same old Knicks content, Knicks commentary. I'm sure I'll blow a gasket. I'm sure I'll be super hyped. You'll see all the fun and games that we had in the last iteration of Orange and Blue Bloods. We'll bring that to this iteration. Also want to give a major shout out to my former producer, Jimmy Jackson, who was gracious enough to give me back the intro to the show. So I was able to bring back the old intro. So again, I'm trying to get the show to have a similar feel to the previous one. Only difference, if you're watching on video, different set, obviously. Very appropriate now to have the Allen Houston picture up. Probably my greatest Knick moment ever as a fan was me when I watched Allen Houston hit that shot in Game 5, 99 against the Miami Heat. If I had to rank my favorite Knick moments, though there were some big ones in last year's playoffs that, Knicks, those 2 stops in Boston, games 1 and 2 were pretty big. But that shot right there, may be my number one still. So the fact that I get to, now have something with Knicks paraphernalia in the background. Last time I did my Orange and Blue Bloods, I didn't have any Knicks content behind me. Now I got plenty. So I'm really excited and really awesome and really feel really honored and fortunate to be able to do this show again. So that'll do it for now, guys. Thank you guys so much for checking out this edition of Orange and Blue Bloods. Again, we will be back later this week with another episode. Check it out. Wednesday afternoon, evening / Thursday morning, we should have a new episode out. We'll be talking about the Knicks Knicks Rockets result and anything else that comes out of Knicks world. And we'll see if maybe we get a guest or someone fun to join me on Wednesday. But that'll do it for now. I want to thank you guys so much for checking out this episode. I'm EJ Stewart. Take it easy.